Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jai Picks. The other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me in to break down some UFC 288. But first, we got to recap last week of UFC Vegas 72. How'd it go for you? It was a bit of a wild card, apex card. A lot of underdogs coming through. Song Yadong underdog in the main event, getting the 5th round TKO. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, excellent performance by Song. He looks super good, man. And being 25 years old is the most impressive thing to me. He stays that composed, and against a guy like Simone, who on paper is one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler in that bantamweight division as far as stats go. So yeah, man, I was super impressed with how well he was able to keep it on the feet, and when he did get taken down, getting back up to the feet, and the kid can crack. He's going to be a problem as he gets older. I mean, if he's 25, think of what he's going to be like when he's 30. I think he's going to be really good. He's fun to watch, and won some money on him, so that's always good.
Yeah, bantamweight division, pretty crazy. I mean, Song Yadong, fast, explosive, stuffed those takedowns, and when he did get taken down, he got right back up. So it's going to be a problem, and I don't see a lot of people that are going to be able to have that well-rounded of a game. Going up against him. Ricky Simone, solid on the feet, but looked like he couldn't do anything on the feet. And when those takedowns got stuffed, he was like, "Oh shit, I'm kind of a sitting duck here against Song Yadong." So good performance there. We also had BKFC. That was a pretty fun card. I really enjoyed that. And hopefully they do some more of that stuff in the future. Going into this week, though, UFC 288. If you want to get in on our premium membership, you'll see the banner down below. The link will be in the description below to join the Double Leg Premium. It is less than $1 a day for 30 days, and you'll get every single one of our bets for every card every week. And you'll also get access to our private members only chat in the Discord, which has been popping recently. And you'll get updates throughout the card as well if we're adding anything on as well. I know you added a couple plays that helped out a lot of the members as well. So make sure to get in on that. But a big announcement going into this week is we're going to be giving away just our plays for free this week only for UFC 288. So if you want to get a little bit or dip your toe in to the premium plays, they'll be free this week, likely Friday afternoon, Friday night. They'll be available for automatic download. Stay tuned on the social medias for that at the Double Leg on all the social medias. If you're watching here on YouTube, drop a subscription down below so we can keep growing the channel. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. But without any further ado, we got 14 fights, I believe, to break down. So let's get right into it. Starting with the main event, the Bantamweight Championship of the World. Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo. Cejudo sits at -110. Sterling comes in as the underdog and the champion at +110. Over under 4.5 rounds, -138 for the over, +138 for the under. As always, odds are courtesy of BetOpenly. 1% juice, no house. So every time you place a bet, you're going up against another person, not the house. And every time you win, you're taking somebody else's money. Every time you lose, you're giving it to another person. So every single dollar stays, well, 99% of the money stays within the betting community. But the Bantamweight Championship, what are you thinking on this one? I mean, it's a damn near a pick 'em. I think it's pretty well priced. There's a lot of unknowns that are going to be put into factor with Cejudo. Kind of unknowns with Aljo. I mean, he's been around for a while. He's been the bantamweight champion for 2 defenses now. Got the belt with a legal knee, but those defenses was a questionable split decision over Petr Yan, and then the win over TJ Dillashaw, which he was injured. It's tough to take a lot from that. I mean, he looked solid in the Petr Yan fight, but it wasn't like some amazing performance, split decision win. And the injuries, like, what do you make of that? Because it's sure he looked dominant, but TJ is also older, retired right after that, was injured. So it's tough to really gauge how good of a performance that was. Cejudo has been off for 3 years, coming back. He's been coaching for a long time with a lot of the top of the cream of the crop. So he's been around the sport. It's not like he's been sitting on the couch, but What do you think? Because I'm getting a lot of questions about this one.
Yeah, it's a dude. This is a tough one to break down because of the things you alluded to. I mean, there's kind of unanswered questions on both sides. But with Sterling, and before I go into Sterling, I think this fight is all going to come down to who can implement that wrestling more effectively. Because on the feet, like Aljamain's good. Cejudo's proved in his last few fights when he was, really active that his striking got really, really good, or at least a lot better than what it was when he started in the UFC. And he became a super solid fighter all the way around. Now he is, I mean, 135 is technically not his natural weight class. I mean, he is a really short guy for the division. Fought most of his UFC career at 125, but Cejudo's wrestling. Everybody knows the Olympic gold medal. Everybody knows that wrestling is phenomenal. And it's on a different level than basically everybody he's fought. Sterling's got good wrestling and great grappling. But the one thing I keep looking at on Aljamain Sterling's record is that when he fought Petr Yan that first time, Petr Yan landed 7 official takedowns on Aljamain Sterling. I know Petr Yan's a good grappler, but he's not like one of those crazy wrestlers by any means. Fought Cody Stamann, got taken down 3 times by Cody Stamann, taken down by Brett Johns. And there's a few other guys in the UFC who have landed multiple takedowns on him in one fight. So, I mean, if those guys are out there getting that many takedowns against Aljo, I can only imagine Henry Cejudo is going to land his fair share too. Henry does have a lower base. He's shorter. He's stocky. He's strong. I think his entries are going to be a little bit easier on a longer guy with long legs like Aljamain Sterling. And yeah, man, that makes it really interesting to me because I know if Aljo can somehow reverse position and take Henry's back, then he'll win rounds and he'll win minutes. But like on the feet, Aljo's crafty and creative, but something about Cejudo's striking, he's just kind of hard nosed and he's creative as well. And you look at the duration of 5 rounds. I mean, we saw Sterling kind of fading against Petr Yan in that first fight.
Yeah.
I don't think Henry Cejudo is going to fade. Yeah, he's been off a while, but say what you want about Cejudo with the cringe and the personality, and he's kind of cocky, but the guy might be the smartest mind in the UFC as far as active fighters go. I mean, the guy is brilliant when it comes to combat sports. I can see him being a coach when he's actually done fighting. I think this is a tough fight for Sterling, man. I don't know. I know Cejudo's been off and there's some unknowns, but the dude is world class at everything he does. I don't see him having any ring rust. I see him getting in there and fighting a flawless fight. I'm going to take him to win this one, man. I think he implements that wrestling and grinds out the victory, probably by decision.
Yeah, this is tough, man.
It is tough. It's so tough because I've thought back the other way too. Like Aljo's got past victory too. If Henry does want to be wrestling heavy, Aljo's longer. He's lengthy. He's so slick on the ground. So it's tough. I think it could be a really close fight, but I gotta lean Cejudo right now.
They're like kind of similar in like what they bring to the table, but like very opposite at the same time. Like Aljo wants to get it to the ground and wants to like control you on the ground, but Cejudo has the takedowns, but he's not necessarily like gonna want to just hold you down and control you, get your back or anything like that. So they have the strengths on the ground, but they're like different. And then on the feet, Aljo's got the length, he's got the volume, but Cejudo has got the power. So they're similar but very different. And I don't know how this is going to play out. Like, there's just some kind of aura around Henry Cejudo. He's like such a tough competitor. Like he just really hates to lose. And he's been so successful throughout everything he's done in his career that it makes me believe that he can come in here after 3 years off against Aljo and get a win. But also at the same time, I'm like, he's 36. Does he need to come back? Like, no. There's like some part of that makes me think, if you need something, you're going to go after it a little bit more. But maybe he's just that good of a competitor that he can come in here and have that kind of mindset. Like, I need to beat this guy to cement myself as one of the best of all time. Yeah. And Aljo has some kind of confidence to him too, where he's like, thinks he's bigger. He can out grapple anybody. And I know you mentioned the takedowns against Petr Yan, but let's be honest, like those were like trip takedowns. And Aljo was not really. He wanted it to be on the ground. So I mean, if he can get taken down, it is what it is. He doesn't really want to stand with Petr Yan. If Petr Yan wants to take him down, he'll take that. He'll go to the ground with him. Not a good look overall in that fight at all. I'm gonna go with Cejudo, but I want Aljamain to win for sure, and I don't want that to cloud my judgment in this one because I want Aljo to win, but I just think Cejudo is too good of a champion and too good of a competitor to come in here underprepared or not thinking like he has a very legit shot to beat Aljamain Sterling. And maybe Aljo pulls it off and can get the back and just control a guy. But he's a smaller guy too. And we saw against, like Islam versus Volkanovski, like Volk is much shorter. It's tougher to really control those guys on the ground. Like, sure, you have the longer limbs. You could throw in the body triangle, but it doesn't really measure up with getting chokes in or anything like that. It just doesn't work the same. So I'll go with Cejudo. But yeah, I'm not confident in it. I honestly don't know if I'll have a side like going into this one. Maybe just sit back and watch it, or look for some props, something like that. But I think it's perfectly priced. It's basically 50-50 in my opinion.
Yep. And you mentioned like Henry Cejudo's got this aura about him, and it's almost like there's a handful of guys in the UFC, like ever, who just have that it factor, and guys that are just like uber obsessed with winning and competition and the sport itself. Guys that come to mind, like Conor McGregor, was just almost brainwashed by this sport when he was on his run. GSP, lifelong martial artist, just dedicated still to this day of mastering his craft and student of the game. And I mean, Henry Cejudo kind of falls in that category. You listen to the guy talk about the sport and break down fights, like this dude is so obsessed with competition and winning in mixed martial arts that it's hard to get on those guys' level. And I think Cejudo's got it. And man, if he does win though, it makes things really interesting in that 135, 145 division, because regardless of Cejudo, and fought at 125, not a really fun division when he was there, but he's going to draw some eyes, especially with a guy like Volk being champion, Sean O'Malley out there. It's going to be a fun few years if he does win, but there's some good fights out there for Aljo too, so it's hard to pick a side as far as who you want to win. But man, I think we're in for a good one on Saturday.
I could almost see this being like an out. Like if Cejudo wins, like it's an out for Aljo to like just move up to 145.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't want to fight Merab. Maybe give Merab the chance to take that. So I don't know. Those are all.
Imagine Merab versus Henry too. That's if you're into wrestling, that's a fucking banger.
It'd be fun just to see who could prevail. If anybody could have an answer for Merab, it'd be Cejudo. So yeah, it'd be interesting. The co-main event, a welterweight bout, 5 rounds. Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. Burns coming in as the slight favorite, -120. Muhammad +120. Over under 4.5 rounds, -140 for the over, +140 for the under. The third fight of the year for Gilbert Burns, and he's been on every pay-per-view except the ones the one in February and the second one in March. So third pay-per-view of the year for Gilbert Burns. First fight of the year for Belal Muhammad, and he's on quite the win streak. Both guys taking it on short notice. Gilbert Burns fought a month ago, less than a month ago. But who do you like in this one?
So just looking at it and after watching film and just thinking a long time about this one, because this is kind of another fight that falls into that category of like, the odds are pretty spot on right now, and I could see this fight going either way. But I like the activity of Gilbert. I like his level of competition. That Hamzat fight, I gave him a ton of respect after that fight for stepping in, fighting a guy nobody wants to fight and doing that well. I became a big Gilbert fan after that. And I think lately he's done exactly what he needs to do to win fights. I mean, Jorge took him down when he had to, pieced him up on the feet when he had to. made quick work in Neil Magny. Wonderboy Thompson, took him down 3 times and worked that ground game beautifully and only held Stephen Thompson to like 20 significant strikes the whole fight, which is unheard of with Stephen Thompson. So all of that tells me that Gilbert Burns is a really good game planner, but he's going to be fighting Bilal Muhammad, who's an excellent game planner as well. I mean, the run that Bilal Muhammad's on has been impressive. I'm not really crazy about some of his competition he fought early on in this win streak. But I mean, lately, Stephen Thompson took him down 7 times. Vicente Luque, who's kind of struggled recently, but the win over Sean Brady was nice, and he showed another element to his game with the striking and getting the standing TKO, which I don't think anybody really saw that coming out of Bilal. I think people thought Sean Brady was going to go in there and grapple him and kind of bully him around, but it was Bilal doing the bullying. But now Gilbert Burns, I just don't see where Bilal would want to take this fight where he feels like he's going to have a significant advantage. Bilal's solid all the way around. Wrestling, striking's obviously getting better, and he can hang with guys. But I mean, let's be honest. On the feet, Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady aren't really comparable, in my opinion. Sean still, came into the sport a wrestler and grappler, and his striking's still coming along. But Gilbert has really cemented himself as a complete mixed martial artist. So if Bilal wants to hang with him on the feet, he's going to run the risk of getting cracked, which he has been before. I think he was dropped. Bilal had been dropped twice by, Jeff Neal a couple years ago, and Gilbert kind of has that scrap to him too. And if it goes to the ground, we all know Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu game is second to none in this division. So I just think Gilbert has an edge over him. I really do. I don't necessarily think Gilbert fighting recently is going to be a disadvantage. I think Gilbert's been in shape this last year. He's never really taken a break from, keeping his body healthy and in shape. And Bilal's kind of been off for, a little bit now. So, yeah, man, I think Gilbert Burns wins this fight. I really do.
I'm going to go the opposite. And I'm not crazy about it. And we could come back to this and say I look like an idiot because Gilbert Burns just starches him for some reason. But that Hamza fight was very impressive, and a lot of people think he won, and that was just about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, in 2022. And then he's been active, but I mean, he's fighting guys that he should definitely beat. I mean, he was minus 500 against Neil Magny, minus 400 or something against Jorge Masvidal. So, I mean, he got like 2 wins that he definitely should have won and won them. So I just don't really put too much stock into that. And I don't really think it helps him that much coming into this fight because Bilal Muhammad is always training. Both guys are always training. That's why they could take this fight on 2 weeks' notice. And I just look at Bilal Muhammad. He just knows how to win fights. Like, it might not be flashy. It might not be a fan favorite, but he just wins fights. And how do you beat Gilbert Burns? I mean, you're probably not going to finish him. You got to win with a good jab. And I think Bilal Muhammad has a decent enough jab. He can mix it up. He can handle him on the ground. If he gets taken down by Gilbert, he's not going to be, trying to scramble to his feet like, oh, shit, I got to get up. I'm going to get submitted. He's good enough on the ground. He's good everywhere the fight goes. And if you're fighting Gilbert Burns, you have to be good everywhere the fight goes. And that's what he is. So I think at plus 120, I think it's good enough to like pull the trigger on him against Gilbert Burns, who I think may be panicking a little bit because he's 36 and he's like, fuck, I need to get these fights in so I can get a chance at the title again. I've already had my chance and I didn't get it done. And now that champion is no longer there. The door is back for me to get a chance. He's like, I need to get these fights in. Bilal Muhammad hasn't gotten that chance. I think he's a little bit more hungry to get that chance and really wants to prove himself. He's been advocating for himself for how long to get the title shot. He's been disrespected for how long to get the title shot. Disrespected by most people. So I think he's going to come into this one with a chip on his shoulder, a good game plan. I don't think he would necessarily take it if he was like, I don't think I can beat this guy. Like, Gilbert might be at the point in his career, he's 36, where he's like, I need to get these fights fast and prove myself. I don't care who I'm fighting. I don't think Bilal was like scared of anybody, but he probably looked at this considering all the circumstance and was like, yeah, I could beat this guy. I could beat anybody. I could beat Kobe Covington. I could beat Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, he's always been willing to fight anybody. Both of these guys have. So I think Bilal can grind out a win. And remember the decision, baby. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, dude. You know what's funny is I saw somebody online talking today that this card sucks. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, man, just these two fights alone at the top make this card worth it. I mean, yeah, you say
Oh,
what you want about Bilal and being boring. The dude's high level everywhere, and
yeah.
same thing with Cejudo and Aljamain and obviously Gilbert. Exciting. So, dude, this card's just shaping up to be one that we're probably going to be talking about for a couple weeks to come.
Yeah. Last thing on this one, I've watched multiple of Bilal Muhammad's fights within the past couple of days, and he's able to fight in different ways. Like he can pressure you, he can fight off his back foot, he can fight going forward, he can fight taking it to the ground. He's very well rounded. Like Gilbert Burns seems like he needs to be the one pressuring. He needs to be the one initiating it to go to the ground. So I think Bilal Muhammad is just too versatile not to take a chance on him here at plus money.
Yeah, the one other thing that I do love about Bilal is he fights within himself really well. When you even saw it against the Brady fight, like he was piecing him up and had him hurt, but he stays so composed to make sure, like he's the best at making sure he doesn't make any mistakes at all. And obviously, it's paid off in this win streak. But even when he was, teeing off on Brady and he got the standing TKO, like he didn't necessarily just empty the tank. I mean, he was just hitting him with clean shots that he's normally thrown out there. So yeah, I think it's going to be such a close fight, honestly. And Bilal's going to have to make a mistake for Gilbert to take him out on the feet. And I don't see him making that mistake. And at the same point, Gilbert's so damn tough. I don't see Bilal doing it. I think this thing goes all the way. Might be a bet to look at is like the over 4.5. Because it is a 5-round fight.
Both guys are fairly durable. And
yeah.
if anybody, well, I don't want to say that. We'll save that for later. Strawweight bout here. Jessica Andrade and Xionan. Xionan coming in as the underdog. Plus 168 for her, minus 168 for Andrade. Over under 2.5 rounds, minus 140 for the over, plus 140 for the under. Who do you like in this one? I gotta say, after watching Andrade versus Blanchfield, I'm not really liking the chalk on her. Might be recency bias, but I can't really get too excited at betting her at chalk. What do you think?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you watch that fight, and it's pretty clear she jumped off the couch for the paycheck in that fight. I mean, it was a last minute replacement. She didn't look like herself at all. She wasn't as fast. She wasn't hitting as hard. She was really hesitant on the feet against the grappler. I'm sure most of that was because she didn't want to get taken down and dominated, which she did. But in this one, man, Xionan, she's not overwhelmingly powerful. Her striking's good. It's pretty technical. I mean, against Mackenzie Dern, you watch that fight, but like Mackenzie Dern's such a one-dimensional. I mean, her striking's getting better, but her game is that grappling and submission game. That it's really hard to get a gauge on if Xionan just looked really good because of that factor, or if her striking is really that crisp. So there's a lot of unknowns with that. And then just, what form of Andrade are we going to get here? I mean, she looked just so unlike herself in that last fight. And, it was in February, I believe. It's not like that was a long time ago. It could be some mental blocks, too, to deal with coming off of a loss like that. And the other thing I look at here is that Andrade is 5'1". Xionan is 5'5". I think the reach advantage is, pretty similar, but Andrade hits like a truck, man, when she wants to. But if she comes in there hesitant, I feel like Xionan is just going to, kind of pick her apart over the course of 3 rounds, not really do much damage, but just keep it technical and outpoint her. But at the same time, man, if Andrade, the old Andrade shows up, she might put her out too. It's just so hard to tell for me. I'm going to pick Andrade to win, but as far as a betting standpoint, I don't think I'm going to have anything on this fight, especially with the lines being that wide.
Yeah, I mean, Andrade looked like insane against Lauren Murphy, and then she goes up against Erin Blanchfield, and everybody's expecting her to like piece her up on the feet, try to have to stuff takedowns. And the first round, she's like getting pieced up by Erin Blanchfield. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is women's MMA. This is literally women's MMA. And not a good look, man. And then she's coming in here against Xionan, who's actually looked pretty solid as of late. Like, I know she lost a split decision to Marina Rodriguez, which she was like a plus 230 underdog against Rodriguez. And I thought she probably could have won that fight. I actually had money on Rodriguez, and I was clenching my cheeks when that went to decision. Ultimately cashed my ticket, but I saw that she's really solid on the feet. And Rodriguez is one of the elite in the division who's actually on this card. On the feet, she just really struggles with getting taken down. So Xionan can stand with nearly everybody on or in the division. And she pieced the hell out of Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern is nothing great on the feet, but she pieced her up. And I think she can take that momentum going into this one. It was a main event, and she had a great performance. She's coming in here against Andrade, a big name. Probably wants to prove herself a little bit. I mean, she had 2 losses in a row, then a win. She's getting the momentum here. Andrade, she's fighting Xionan. It's not like a fight that she can really get that excited for. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's fought the cream of the crop, and she's looking at Xionan like another chick she could probably beat. And maybe like rushing into it a little bit. Like, why are you taking this fight? You know, you fought, this is your 3rd fight of the year as well. I mean, she fought Murphy in January, Blanchfield in February, and now she's fighting at the beginning of May. It's an interesting tactic. Like, I don't know why she's really jumping back in there, because she probably got a solid paycheck for against Blanchfield for taking that fight on short notice. So weird, in my opinion. I'm going to go Xionan as the underdog. Plus 168. I think it's good enough to take a shot. So that's my pick. A featherweight bout here just announced today. Bryce Mitchell pulling out with, I think he said it was a back injury. Dana White said it was a back injury. In steps Diego Lopes against Movsar Evloev, the undefeated Russian. And Diego Lopes coming in here 21-5. There's no odds out, unfortunately, at the moment, because it just got announced. But Diego Lopes fought on the Contender Series against Anderson Brito. That was in 2021. He lost that, and then fought after that in Fury FC. Lost a split decision there, and then got a couple wins in Fury FC and Lux Fight League. And he's stepping in here against Movsar Evloev, who in all actuality will probably be close to minus 1,000, considering the circumstances. You know, 4 or 5 days notice against an undefeated Russian who is a minus 200 some favorite against Bryce Mitchell, who was a ranked opponent. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pick Diego Lopes, you got some real stones, but Movsar Evloev, there's some holes that you could look at, and it's mostly on the feet. Like, he's going to have some great wrestling. He gets a ton of takedowns. I think he averages 4 some takedowns. Yeah, 4.83 takedowns per 15 minutes. He racks them up. He's actually a solid striker, but he can leave himself open a little bit on the feet. He's been cracked a couple times. Nothing too bad. Obviously undefeated. And Diego Lopes has got some good submissions, though. And if he does take him down, could see some fluke shit happen. You know, got 11 submission wins on his record. He's a pure finisher, Diego Lopes is. He's only got 2 wins by decision. Got a lot of fights under his record, but yeah, I'm a realist, and I'm going to go with Movsar Evloev. What about you?
Yeah, I'm on the same side. He should win this. But yeah, the one slither of hope, if you're on Diego's side, is that submission game. I mean, like you said, 11 subs on his record. In that Dana White's Contender Series fight, I think he had how many sub attempts? At least 3.
Yeah.
He was taken down, quite a bit, but he's always looking for him. and he is slick with them. So that's like the one thing. It's like if Movzar does leave his neck out there or gets his back taken trying to wrestle or anything like that, like it's super, it gets a little sketchy there for a couple minutes. And we already know he's going to be a massive favorite. So betting wise, not even a parlay piece to me. This guy's going to be a huge favorite and just too much risk for the reward. But I mean, you look at Movzar's record, and he beat Dan Ige, took him down 9 times, beat Hakeem Dawodu, took him down 9 times. I mean, the dude can straight up wrestle. He's strong too. Striking's coming along. I'd say his offensive striking is a lot better than his defensive striking. Like you said, he kind of leaves himself out there to get hit. But at the end of the day, in this fight, I just don't think he's going to have to worry about any of that on the feet. I think his big concern is going to be when it goes to the ground, just staying safe, landing ground and pound, and doing his thing. Like, he's going to win this fight how he wins every fight, grind it out, steal every single round, and get the unanimous decision. And you look at his 6 UFC fights, he's won every single one by decision. So, and his 6-fight win streak, but he's not a big finisher, and split decision against Nick Lentz. So, yeah, man, I think he should get this win. He should get it easy, but there could be a couple moments in this fight where you're betting on Diego, you got your fingers crossed, and it could get a little dicey. But yeah, give me Movzar for the pick.
Yeah, he fought off some nasty submission attempts by Nick Lentz.
Mm-hmm.
Officially, Nick Lentz put up 2, but like he was fishing for that the entire night in that fight. So, yeah, what do you think? By decision? He's probably not going to finish him, eh?
You would think, but man, the UFC is so weird. And like you look at last week with Quinlan and Trey Waters, those guys in their combined professional careers had never won a decision. It's been all finishes and they go to decision. So
yeah,
if you do think Movzar is going to finish a fight, it would be a fight like this, in my opinion. A guy who, maybe gets tired as the fight goes on, and you just wrestle the hell out of him so long that he just kind of gives up at some point. So I think it's either by decision or you could play him like 3rd round TKO maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Diego Lopes has only been finished once, and that was he's been finished twice by TKO. And Movzar, out of his 16 wins, only 3 of them come by TKO. So, yeah, you're looking for something crazy. I mean, if it's good enough, like the price on Evloev inside the distance or something like that, probably might have to take a stab, just considering the circumstances, and everything. Another featherweight bout here, Charles Jourdain and Kron Gracie. The return of Kron Gracie, plus 180 for Gracie, minus 180 for Charles Jourdain. Over under 2.5 rounds, plus 180 for the over, minus 180 for the under. So they're expecting a bit of violence in this one. The always entertaining Charles Jourdain and Kron Gracie, who we all know is going to be looking for the takedown and looking for that submission. And in all likelihood, if he does get it to the ground, probably going to get it. All of his wins come by submission, 4 in the first round, 1 in the second round. His only loss is a decision. Charles Jourdain, all action, and his only time he's ever been finished was he got submitted in the 3rd round. You taking the stab on Kron Gracie at the plus money, or are you taking Charles Jourdain?
I think I am going to take a stab at it, if I'm being honest. And not confidently, obviously. Yeah. But look, I mean, you look at Charles Jourdain against Nathaniel Wood, he just kind of got, eventually dominated. The striking, numbers were kind of close, but if you watch the fight, like he wasn't on that same level that night. Loses to Shane Burgos, majority decision. Pretty good fight. That was a fun one. Beats Lando Venata by sub. And then the thing that's just been jumping off the page all week when you look at his record, in his last 6 fights in the UFC, he's been taken down in every single fight, every single one of them. 5 times by Nathaniel Wood, twice by Shane Burgos. Lando Venata took him down before he got subbed in the first round. Andre Ewell, Julian Erosa twice. Marcelo Rojo took him down. So it's like, man, I think he's getting taken down because he overextends on some of his shots. He gets a little too close, tries to get in the pocket, and he'll try to hit you. And he kind of lunges out, just leaving himself to get wrapped up and taken down. And I think a guy like Kron Gracie is going to be watching that, and he knows that. And if he can get this thing to the ground or pull guard, like he is so damn good, on the ground that he can submit anybody in this division and anybody at this level. So that makes it extremely, nerve wracking if you do want to bet on Charles Jourdain, knowing that if this thing goes to the ground, there's a damn good shot that he's going to get subbed. So I do think it hits the mat at least once or twice. For the money, man, I got to go with Crone Gracie. He's tough. He's tough enough, at least, in my opinion. You look at that fight with Cub Swanson. I have no idea how that thing went to decision. Beat Alex Caceres by sub, who probably, has I don't even want to say similar grappling and submission game as Charles Jourdain, but I don't think Jourdain's going to be, much better than Caceres. I think a lot of people love Charles Jourdain, but look at his record in the UFC. Look at his losses. Like, the guy's not exactly top tier, top level fighter by any means. So yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Crone Gracie in this one. I think he has a good shot at getting a sub here.
As odd of a matchup that it is, like it's kind of intriguing because
Mm-hmm.
Charles is like exciting on the feet, but can he keep it there? Like if it's on the feet, it's probably Charles Jourdain all day.
Yeah.
But Crone Gracie probably not gonna let him do that. I mean, he absorbs 8 strikes per minute. Crone Gracie does in his 2 UFC fights. Charles Jourdain lands 5.84. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, with the layoff, probably won't get like too invested because like who knows where Crone Gracie is really at? Like, is he really into it still? Like, what was with the layoff? Like, what does he really plan to do? I mean, he's 34, so it might be like a live betting spot, but it could very well get finished in the first round. Live betting mean you kind of get the feel for it, like where this fight's going to be heading. But yeah, I'll go with Crone Gracie because like you said, I mean, it in all likelihood probably does hit the ground, or Crone Gracie can snatch up the back like from a clinch position or something. So I'll go with Crone Gracie. Charles Jourdain could. I mean, he's just fights so wild. Like, I don't see how he could like stay safe for 3 rounds. Like, that's not really in his blood to like, stay with the jab and stay away and stuff takedowns and everything like that. So, yeah, I'll go with Crone Gracie with you. This is just a weird one, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially with Charles Jourdain coming off the 2 losses in a row. I thought he probably won the Burgos fight, but that's just me. And I also had money on him, so I was a little pissed at that. But it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I wouldn't get too invested. But a fun fight to watch.
For sure.
So, it's not one that you really need money to like get invested in, Speaking of fun fights, I think this is the best fight on the card.
Like, absolutely.
It's crazy that this is not on the main card, and they probably did that on purpose so that people would buy the main card. You're getting all the casuals that are coming in, watching the feature prelim. They see this fight, they're like, shit, I need to buy that. Lightweight bout here, Drew Dober, minus 185, Matt Frevola, plus 185, over under 1.5 rounds, minus 135 for the over, plus 135 for the under. Both guys 3-2 in their last 5. Drew Dober, a hell of a 2022 for him, getting 3 wins, all by finish. And he's coming in here off the knockout win over Bobby Green. And man, I don't see I love both fighters. Like, I look at Drew Dober, I mean, he's just the picture perfect. Like, I'm going to stand and throw. He's got the granite chin. Everybody knows that chin of Drew Dober. Thing's a fucking brick house. And then you look at Matt Frevola, and he's a stand and bang kind of guy too. And it's worked out for him his past 2 fights. But he's also been knocked out twice in the first round in his career. And I'm looking at this like most of Matt Frevola's wins, that are exciting. He probably wants to put on an exciting show for a pay-per-view crowd, at least in attendance. He's probably not going to want to just shoot takedowns on Drew Dober. Like, in his where he trains too. He trains up in New Jersey area, tri-state area. So I think he wants to put on a show, especially if he's got a dance partner like Drew Dober. And I don't think that goes well for him if he's going to stand and trade with Drew Dober, because I don't think his chin's going to be able to hold up as well as Drew Dober's does. And I don't think many people can take those big left hands from Drew Dober. I mean, Bobby Green has been durable for a while, and he put Bobby Green out like it was nothing. And I just don't see this one going well for Matt Frevola unless he goes for the takedown. But then again, Drew Dober has a pretty solid takedown defense. I mean, most people are going to want to take him down if they want to beat him. It's 55% in his career, but I mean, he's gone up against the likes of like the only guys that control him are like Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush, like top tier grapplers that can hold him there. Got taken down by Brad Riddell 5 times, but he only gave up a couple minutes of control time. So I just see this one being Drew Dober getting the finish, probably in first round or second round. I don't see it lasting that long. Like, I just don't see how they can come into that crowd in that spotlight and just not throw hands. I'd be flabbergasted because both guys consistently do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if Matt Frevola wants to win, he's got to go to the wrestling. I mean, you look at Drew Dober's record, and he's losing to guys like Islam Makhachev, Beneil Dariush. The wrestling has always kind of given him problems in some of his losses, but Matt Frevola seems like he's at a point in his career where if you're going to say, I think he's probably, real with himself enough to know that he's not going to go run and challenge for the title here anytime soon, but he's got a damn good chance to go out there and make an extra $50K if he stands and trades with Drew Dober. I think it's a very real scenario, and especially coming off of that last performance again against Ottman Azatar. He went out there and just cracked him and got the TKO finish really fast. And I think that probably, gave him a little confidence to stand and bang with guys. And he probably had a lot of fun doing that. He won a bonus there. So, let's go get another 50K against Drew Dober, another guy who's going to have that same game plan and that same style. But, if it does turn into that brawl, obviously Drew Dober's chin is a lot more proven than Matt Frevola's. I mean, you look at Drew Dober's record in the UFC. First of all, it's insane that he's got 21 fights in the UFC. That's a shit ton of fights for a guy that seems like he's a younger dude, but he's so experienced and never been KO'd in the UFC. I think he's been knocked down once by Terrence McKinney, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning that fight. So super, super fun fight. This has fireworks and fight of the night written all over it. But if it is going to turn into that brawl, I think Drew Dober comes out with his hand raised.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be sick. Light heavyweight bout here. Kennedy Nzechukwu and Devin Clark plus 175 for Clark, minus 175 for Nzechukwu. Over under 2.5 rounds, minus 110 for the over, plus 110 for the under. My boy with the tree trunk legs, Devin Clark, coming in here off a big win in 2023 against Daun Jung. Got back on the winning track, which was exactly what I think he needed to do in there. He came in there as a plus 200 underdog and just pushed the wrestling, pushed the using his strength, man. He controlled him for 5 minutes of the fight and really just forced it to be a clinch control. Like, didn't want to stand and strike with Daun Jung, which was the right game plan. And I think it's probably his best weapon here. Again, going against a guy that's longer, going to want to stand and strike with you. But it is in a bigger cage. And Nzechukwu, 6'5", 83-inch reach. I mean, the guy is a monster for light heavyweight. Tall dude. He's got good hands. He seems like he's consistently getting better. And he's coming off a 2-fight win streak. Second round knockout against Iwan Kutalaba, who had success in the first round, taking him down and controlling him. But he just kind of gassed out in the second round, got hit with a couple at the beginning of the second round, and Nzechukwu just put it on him and put him away. So if you're Devin Clark, the blueprint's there. I mean, if you can get him down and control him, use your strength, that's how you beat him. But can he do that? Will he do that is the real question. But at plus money, I got to say it's worth a shot. for a 3-round fight. If you could just win 2 of those rounds, controlling him on the ground, then I like his chances. But Nzechukwu, he's got more finishing ability. There's no doubt about that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, he's got to get to Kennedy early. He's got to take some of that power away, because Kennedy, with that size, power, and reach advantage, if Devin Clark can't get inside and take this down, I think it's going to be a really, really long night for Devin Clark. But in Devin Clark's last fight against Jung, man, he looked really, really good. He's almost seemed like, he'd made a bunch of changes since that Mirzakhanov fight, and he looked like he'd been getting better. And he's a fighter that sneakily has 15 fights in the UFC, has a ton of experience at this level, fought all kinds of guys, power, power strikers, grapplers like Jan Kuditzalaba, Anthony Smith. I mean, Ryan Spann. I mean, the dude has fought top level guys. And Kennedy is the one thing that does scare me. I'm just gonna, say it again, is that height and reach advantage. 83-inch reach. Devin Clark 75. We saw this type of thing last week with Quinlan and Trey Waters. Quinlan just couldn't really get anything going, and I think it was the size and the reach of Trey Waters that was giving him all those problems. The one thing I worry about is Devin Clark's ability to get in on Kennedy. But if he does, man, he could steal rounds here, and like you said, all it takes is 2. It really scares me to take Devin Clark, because he's been so up and down in his career. It's like he looks phenomenal one fight, and then the next he loses. He looked phenomenal in his last fight, so makes me nervous to see what he's going to look like this time coming out. But he is a strong dude, and if he can get the takedowns, I'll be watching that live bet and what the line's doing as the fight goes on. Because if Kennedy goes out there, has a good first round, but Devin Clark's having success at least getting to the grappling positions, I think as the fight goes on, Clark's going to have more of a gas tank than Kennedy, just from trying to defend all the takedowns. So if it gets past 1, it could get really, really interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, avoid the knees up the middle. If you're in Nzechukwu, you probably want to definitely got to stick the jab out there. You might want to throw some teep kicks up the middle, keep them off you. But Devin Clark, from the jump, you got to go into it. Like in that fight against Mirzakhanov, he didn't really go for it in the beginning with the wrestling, and it just kind of took over for him. Like Mirzakhanov just got in a rhythm, and Clark just couldn't do much with it. So it's got to be from the jump. Welterweight bout here, Chaos Williams coming in at -280 against the newcomer Rolando Bedoya, +280, over under 1.5 rounds, +100 for both the over and the under. The newcomer coming in here on a bit of a win streak out of Peru, and I watched a couple of his fights. They're pretty interesting competition, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't super impressed. He actually got cracked against, he was either Mauricio Otolora or Pablo Dorto in one of his fights. He got cracked in the first round, like damn near face planted on the canvas, and survived and ended up getting the win. It was either a round or 2 later. But if you get cracked by Chaos Williams, like you're going out, dude. You're going out. And he's coming in here after the loss against Randy Brown, which was a split decision. Not a lot of people can really throw confidently against Chaos Williams. Like they're a little bit hesitant because they know Chaos, what he possesses on the feet. And in this one, if Bedoya comes out the way that he has fought, because he's fought confidently, if he comes out that way against Chaos, I think Chaos is probably going to clip him. So yeah, I think this is somewhat one-way traffic if it's on the feet. But Chaos, he like had a lot of hype around him after a couple knockout wins, and kind of fell off a little bit after that Randy Brown fight, which was supposed to be a good stepping stone to move up the ranks. But he's getting like an interesting matchup here against a newcomer, which I think might be a little bit of a get right spot for him. So I'll take him for the pick, probably by KO. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I do think it could be a little get right spot for him because, against Randy Brown, he did have a knockdown. Like, they scored a knockdown for him in that fight. But the one thing that Williams is going to have to see if he's watching tape on Rolando is something you mentioned, man. He got cracked in that one fight, but there's other fights on the regional scene that he's had where he does get tagged a lot and he leaves his chin open. And I mean, Chaos Williams is the guy in that division that you do not want to have any flaws with your defensive striking, because when he touches dudes, they go down. And UFC debut, might be a little bit nervous, might be a little bit stiff. And Chaos Williams has obviously been here before. He's going to be coming out here, looking for this to be his revenge fight after losing to Randy Brown, split decision, probably pissed off about it. It's damn near a year to the day since that fight. I think Chaos Williams probably been in the gym, fine tuning his skills and make sure he's prepared before he steps in there again. So yeah, I don't see this guy coming in here and giving Chaos a bunch of problems on the feet. If you do watch some of Rolando's fights, he's got submissions, decent wrestling, but nothing that I don't think is going to be too overwhelming for Chaos. The guy has never lost by finish, Rolando, but like you said, look at his level of competition. It's not, world class by any means. I just think Chaos is going to be the better fighter here, definitely the better striker, or at least more powerful striker. I think he does find the chin of Rolando. I think he puts him out. As far as betting goes on this fight, though, you could play the KO prop, but other than that, there's not really anything that's jumping off the page to me.
Agreed. Strawweight bout here, Marina Rodriguez versus Verna Jandiroba. Plus 125 for Jandiroba, minus 125 for Marina Rodriguez. Over under 2.5 rounds, minus 215 for the over, plus 215 for the under. I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised by the price, because I would have figured Marina Rodriguez would be a little bit bigger of a favorite. But a lot of love coming in for Verna Jandiroba. I mean, Marina Rodriguez, her last fight was against Amanda Lemos. She got finished in the third round, and that was kind of like somewhat of a number one contenders fight. If I'm being honest, like, if I look at that, like, Amanda Lemos might fight for the title next against Zhang Wei Li, and Marina Rodriguez was on a 4-fight win streak before that. Had just beaten Hebos, Waterson, Dern, and then Jan, and she was looking like she improved that ground game against Mackenzie Dern, and she got taken down a couple of times against Yan Xionan. And then Amanda Lemos kind of exposed it a little bit early on in that fight, and then came out with some just absolute bombs in the third round and put her away. But on the feet, man, like, there's not many people that can out volume Marina Rodriguez, or I mean, she doesn't have great power, but she's just going to stay in your face and put a lot of activity in front of you, and you got to deal with it. Verna Jandiroba, she wants to take it to the ground. And if it's on the feet, I think it's Marina Rodriguez all day. Jandiroba she's all right, that she's just looking to set it up for the takedowns. And this is like, can she get the takedowns? Probably. Like, that's probably why she's only a plus 125 underdog against Marina Rodriguez. That's kind of what they're betting on. And I don't know if I could bet on that. Like, Jandiroba, the level of competition doesn't really match up with Rodriguez as of recently, at least. Like, Jandiroba beat Angela Hill, okay, like in 2022, and then she lost to Amanda Hebos, and then beat Kanako Murata. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is like some kind of trap on Marina Rodriguez, but I'm thinking, like, she was like a minus 200 favorite against Amanda Lemos. Now she's minus 125. Like, what am I missing here? Like, I think Marina Rodriguez should be a little bit bigger of a favorite. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree that she probably should, but I think where the line's coming from is going to be that wrestling and grappling game of Verna. Because, I mean, in Marina Rodriguez's last 7 fights, she's gotten taken down in every single one of her last 7 fights. And, Verna's decently strong and athletic for this division. And she does average, 2.31 takedowns. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the line is coming from expecting half of this fight maybe being on the ground and the other half being on the feet. And we know that Rodriguez is going to have that advantage on the feet, but on the ground, I think Verna's pretty damn good in that grappling department, man. I think if it hits the ground, I could see Rodriguez being in trouble a few times in this fight, if I'm being honest. Yeah, the level of competition for Rodriguez has been a lot better. But, you watch Verna fight, and you can tell she's got a lot of skill. You can tell she's pretty high level, and probably a fight I'm staying away from, if I'm being honest. First, it's WMMA, and second, it's kind of hard to tell who's going to get the better of who in their specialties here. Is Rodriguez going to get the better on the feet? Does she have that power to put Verna away? Or if this thing hits the ground, is Verna just going to be too much for Rodriguez? So, right now, man, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna take the underdog. I'm gonna take Verna to get maybe a decision win, maybe a late submission. I don't know. There's something about this fight that's just been telling me that Verna's gonna get it done. It's gonna be kind of unexpected, but that line is a little weird too. So yeah, give me Verna in this one.
Yeah, I'll take Marina Rodriguez for the pick. She is 36 though. It's like, dang. She doesn't seem that old, but
yeah, no, I agree. Yes,
she is definitely 36. I'll take her for the pick, and I'll keep an eye on it as the week goes on. Heavyweight bout here. Parker Porter coming in here against Braxton Smith, the newcomer. Plus 168 for Smith, minus 168 for Porter. Over under 1.5 rounds. Plus 140 for the over, minus 140 for the under. You look at Braxton Smith, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's had 6 fights in his pro career, but all 5 of his wins have come within the last year. So he had his second fight at the end of May, and he's gotten first-round KOs in every fight since then. But his first pro fight was in 2014, and then he just took 8 years off doing something else, and then comes back in 2022, gets 5 KO wins. And now he's in the UFC taking on Parker Porter, who just got knocked out by Justin Tafa 2 or 3 months ago. What are you liking in this one?
Yeah, this is another kind of a tough one because you look at Braxton, he's got 5 finishes by KO or TKO in his 5 wins, but not a lot of professional mixed martial art experience. I think he's got that kickboxing style. He's obviously dangerous and obviously powerful, and it's worked out for him on the regional scene and kind of lower level. But Parker Porter coming off of the knockout loss to Justin Tafa. But at the end of the day, man, Parker Porter is going to be the more well-rounded fighter. I think that should be obvious at least. Porter averages some takedowns. Once he gets you on the ground, he's kind of like that. He's kind of a blanket. He just controls you. He's big. He's strong. I mean, the dude's 6 foot tall and 265. I mean, he carries a lot of weight on top of you when he gets you down. His striking's not super powerful, but for being that big and that heavy of a dude, he carries some pretty good volume, and he doesn't exactly gas as quick as you would expect him to, being 6 foot 265. So if Braxton Smith wants to come out here and win, I think he's got to come out swinging. He's got to try to put him out early, because if this thing gets past the first round, Parker Porter's going to lean on that experience. That wrestling, if he gets it to the ground, he's going to steal around and just wear down Braxton Smith. So I got to stick with Parker Porter here. I don't think Braxton Smith comes in here and he gets it done on his debut. I really don't. Parker Porter's my pick.
Yeah, I think most people can agree Parker Porter is going to be the more well-rounded mixed martial artist in this fight. But we're talking low-level heavyweights. Mm-hmm. And does that even matter? I don't know, and I'm willing to bet that it doesn't. I'm going to go with Braxton Smith in this one. First round TKO, only because he's out of Austin, Texas, and that is where I live. So that's what I'm going for. This is low-level heavyweights, all right, man? Don't overthink it. Take the underdog. First round KO, Braxton Smith. If you look at the guy is absolutely huge. He's 5'11", probably every bit of 265. We'll see what he weighs in at. Last weighed in at 257. The guy's bricked up. He's 33. He's got to go now. Parker Porter's 38. He just got knocked out in the first round. I'm going to go with Braxton Smith. Not confident in it, but I'm going to go with it. Middleweight bout here. Ikram Aliskerov and Phil Hawes. Plus 208 -208 for Phil Hawes, -208 for Ikram Aliskerov. Over under 2.5 rounds, +190 for the over, -190 for the under. We were texting about this one before. I was asking you if Phil Hawes was even alive after what Roman Dolidze did to him his last fight out. He tore up his knee. I don't know what. I mean, it looked like that knee was completely gone, but he's back here. What is it? 6 months later? 7 months later. So it must not have been that torn, but tore up his knee and then landed a little 3-piece that put him out in the first round. He's coming in here against another killer in Ikram Aliskerov, who is 13-1. Only losses to Khamzat Chimaev when he got knocked out with that nasty uppercut back in 2019 out of Mahashkala, Russia in Dagestan. So Dagestani coming in here, 30 years old, finished the guy in the Contender Series in 2 minutes and 9 seconds with a Kimura. That was against Mario Sosa, that was his third fight on the Contender Series. He had won one, but he's coming in there for the third time, and Ikram put him out in 2 minutes. So I'm not going to bet against the Dagestani, man. Even at -208 against a guy like Phil Hawes, who has a lot of potential, I wouldn't say has necessarily putting it all together. Like, he's always been up there as like a guy that could have a lot of good stuff to give to the UFC, but his wins are Jacob Malkoun, Nasser Dinimov, which was a solid win at the time, and it still has aged pretty well. But then Kyle Dawkins and Deron Winner are his only other 2 wins. A couple losses in there, Chris Curtis, Roman Dolidze, who are, at the top, towards the top of the division at least. But it just seems like he kind of shits in your bets a lot. Like, if you bet on him as a favorite, but he's a dog here, so I'm not gonna knock you if you take him. But personally, not one to bet against the Dagestanis, so I'm going to take Ikram Aliskerov. What do you think?
I'm going to bet on Phil Hawes, and I'm going to keep this super simple, and I'm going to tell you why.
Are you sure he's alive?
I checked. Like I told you earlier, he woke up last week. But listen, he struggles with strikers. He got knocked out on the Contender Series by Julian Marquez, Chris Curtis, Roman Dolidze, who does have grappling, but he got the finish over Phil Hawes after he tore up his knee and then put him out. But I don't think Aliskerov is going to come in here and just outstrike Phil Hawes, because Phil Hawes does have some decent striking. I mean, Jourdain Wynn's not the best fighter or striker, but he pieced them up and he looked technical and sharp doing it. And if you look at Phil Hawes' background, I believe he's a Division I national champion wrestler. Someone can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the word on this. Yeah, but but that's a different. I don't know. It's hard to compare the two. I mean, D1 national champion Dagestan, D1 national champion who's got a lot of UFC higher level experience versus the guy from Dagestan who might gas out after one round at this level. First UFC debut fight, you never know. We saw that happen with, what was the Russian dude's name that had 4 million Instagram followers and everyone was.
Oh, don't compare him. He was fake Russian, man.
No, I'm just saying, though, you never know with some of these guys who they've been fighting over there. I know he got knocked out by Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, like, that's a high ass level fight outside the UFC. But at the end of the day, man, he's only got, how many total fights does he have? 13-1. Phil Hawes, if he can just keep it on the feet, I think he can gas out Aliskerov, and I think he's going to have the better striking. So if you give me that kind of money, I'm going to fade the UFC newcomer, being having the OV at the end of the name out of Dagestan or not. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm going to take a chance on Phil Hawes here. I might seem like an idiot or I might seem like a genius. It's one of those fights. If I miss this one, I'm going to get some hate. If I hit this one, I'm the best capper on the planet. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I think Phil Hawes wears out Aliskerov and gets it done. But my luck will have it, Aliskerov will go out there and finish him in one. So,
well, I can't blame you. I mean, plus 208 is a solid price on Phil Hawes, who has been respected by the books for all of his UFC career. So can't blame you, but you got to make sure he's alive first. Flyweight bout here: Zhalgas Zhumagulov versus Rafael Estevam. -175 for Estevam, +175 for Zhumagulov, who's 1-4 in his last 5. A little bit of a rough patch for him. Over under 2.5 rounds, -165 for the over, +165 for the under. The undefeated Estevam coming in here as a favorite. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, you look at Zhumagulov, and he's kind of been, I don't want to say robbed of fights, but he's been in some close fights that didn't go his way, and it's unfortunate. Or else he'd have a couple more wins on his UFC record. Estevam, I mean, if he goes out there and gets the takedowns and implements his game, I'll give him all the props in the world because Zhumagulov is pretty damn good in the wrestling department himself. Like, he doesn't always go out there and use it offensively, but he's so scrappy. He fights with an incredible pace, and if he gets taken down, he can usually pop back up. He does get hit a little bit on the feet, a little bit more that for my liking. He took that loss to Charles Johnson and took 119 or 115 significant strikes. But if you look at the other side of that fight too, on his numbers, I mean, he landed more than that. So the pace is there, the volume's there. I think the wrestling in this fight should serve him well enough to, make this thing dicier than what the odds are saying. So I'm gonna stick with the dogs, man. I'm gonna go Zhumagulov to get the upset here. I think he's better. I think he's better than the last 1-5 that he is right now. His last six
Oh
six
yeah,
fights. I think
I,
he's a lot better than that record says.
I would agree. I thought he got cut after his last fight, but apparently maybe they re-signed him or something. But coming in here, yeah, like you said, I mean, technically he's 1-5 in his last 6 too. So his UFC run has not been great, but I mean he's fighting some solid guys. Like Raulian Paiva was a ranked guy at 135 at one point. Amir Albazi is top of the division. Manel Kopp, top of the division. Jeff Molina, he's up there. Charles Johnson up there as well.
He's down there.
His only win is against Jerome Rivera. I actually remember betting on that fight. I took Jalgas, and he was like minus 315. Got the first round standing guillotine. I was going crazy. That was the first fight of the night on the Poirier McGregor 3 card. Yeah, I mean, he's fought some tough guys. When I look at Rafael Estevam, undefeated, he had a dominant performance on the Contender Series. Really, I mean, he took like, was it 3 significant strikes in a second round finish? I mean, he just dominated, and I honestly think he's going to win this fight as well. I mean, it's not really saying anything crazy. He's the favorite, but I wanted to get behind Jalgas because he's been not winning as of recently, and you might get a better price, but plus 175 just isn't enough for me. I'm going to be honest. And if it goes to decision, it hasn't really been going Jalgas' way. So what does that tell you? Not really doing enough to like get the judges nod. So I'm going to go with Estevam, undefeated, coming in here. I know you don't like newcomers, and it might bite me in the butt, but we'll see how that works out. Middleweight bout, Joseph Holmes and Claudio Ribeiro, minus 168 or minus 162 for Ribeiro, plus 162 for Joseph Holmes. Over under 1.5 rounds, plus 100 for the over and the under. Joseph Holmes might be the worst middleweight in the UFC. I have to say that. Not trying to shade him, but I mean, his only win in the UFC is against Alan Amedovski, who was the worst middleweight to ever grace the UFC, I have to say.
Right.
At least that I've, watched as of recently. And his losses are to Junyoung Park. He got finished in the second round, which isn't terrible. But then his loss in his debut was Jamie Pickett, who was fed to the Wolves against Bo Nickel. So he lost to the guy that they fed to the Wolves. And I honestly just watched the film on him. I'm just not impressed by much at all. But then I look at Claudio Ribeiro, just an explosive dude. All of his wins by KO. He's been knocked out once, and that was in his last fight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan in the second round, his debut. He's probably going to come in here in this one looking for some revenge, throwing some bombs again against Joseph Holmes. And I think he'll probably get it done. But Joseph Holmes, he's never been knocked out, but I mean, he hasn't really faced the power that I think Claudio Ribeiro possesses. So we'll see how this one goes. The way that Claudio Ribeiro throws, I don't see this one lasting that long. I don't think Jamie Pickett could take that kind of shot if he lands it. It's not very accurate with it, but he lands some big leg kicks. in the Al Hassan fight. He was ripping those leg kicks in there early. If he does that to Joseph Holmes, it's probably going to be a short night for him. So I'll take Ribeiro. I mean, minus 162 is all right, I guess. But I mean, the experience, Holmes has got the experience in the UFC. That's probably what he's going to lean on in this one. We'll see. But I'll take Ribeiro. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm on the same exact side. I think Joseph Holmes, he's got to kind of bully guys to get wins, and he's got to get them down and implement the submission game. And I just don't see him being able to get anything going against a guy like Claudio, who's going to come out and throw the kitchen sink at you. I think we're going to see Joseph Holmes take a shot, shell up, and just get put out via TKO pretty quick, honestly. Yeah, I hate that loss to Jamie Pickett. I hate the win against Amidovsky, who's never won in the UFC and looked terrible. So you mix those two things together, it's like, Ribeiro should win this fight. And I think it's unfortunate for him that he ran into Al Hassan in his UFC debut, who's a phenomenal striker and was just able to take the shots and, give them back. I don't think Joseph Holmes has the power to do that to Claudio here. I think this is all Claudio round 1 or round 2. Make quick work of Joseph Holmes via KO or TKO.
I like it. Bantamweight bout here, kicking off the show. Daniel Santos sitting at minus 168 against Johnny Munoz Jr. plus 168 for Munoz Jr. Over under 2.5 rounds, plus 130 for the over, minus 130 for the under. Who do you like in this one? You got Willie Cat Santos coming in here off a big performance where he was the underdog against John Castaneda and looks like an absolute stud. Looked like the second coming of Charles Oliveira. I mean, he got dropped a couple times in that one, but that's how those guys that shoot the box fight. They're going to throw caution to the wind. They're going to get hit. They're going to keep coming forward. And they're going to put the pressure on you and break you, and that's what he did. Johnny Munoz coming off a win against Ludwig Shalinian, which can't say is all that impressive. I mean, he got it done by a decision, but then a TK or a KO/TKO loss against Tony Gravely in the first round. He got put out with the uppercut. Who do you like in this one?
This is a fun one to start off the night, man. This is perfect by the UFC to give you this one for the prelim opener, because both guys are going to stand and trade if they want. Both guys have good ground games, and both guys can be exciting. But I think this is the classical case of Daniel Santos saying, anything you can do, I can do better, to Johnny Munoz. Munoz is good on the ground. He's got, he's phenomenal with the jiu-jitsu. But so is Santos, man. He's training with guys like Charles Oliveira. And I liked your video about Charles Oliveira 2.0, because when their backs are turned to the camera and they're swinging, they look identical. I mean, You can't tell their style apart. Daniel Santos is tough on the feet. What he did to John Castaneda was insane to me. I did not see that coming. Put together the phenomenal combinations, put him out of there. Johnny Munoz on the feet isn't a bad striker, but you can tell he's not a traditional. Like, that's not his game. That's not his style at all. This dude wants to fight on the mat. If it goes to the mat, I think Santos can hang. He's definitely going to be good enough to make it competitive there. So anywhere this fight goes, I just see Santos being a little more aggressive, having a little bit more dog in him. I think he gets the win here. I think he could finish Munoz too. And I love this fight to start the card. Daniel Santos minus 165. I think that's about as good a number as you're going to get. I think this thing gets wider as the week goes on. So I already pulled the trigger on BetOpenly. Daniel Santos, give me him all day in this one, honestly.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Fun one to break it off. And Willie Cat is always going to bring the action. And I think he gets this one done as well. I think he's just got a little bit more finishing ability on the feet and on the ground. And he's going to throw a lot at you. If you're looking at Johnny Munoz, I think he wants to keep it within, his kind of fight. I don't think he's going to thrive within that kind of chaos. So what Willie Cat throws at you is a lot to deal with. And I think that kind of got to Castaneda. Like, he just kept the pressure on him and basically broke him to be like, I can't really keep this pressure. You coming at me. I don't know what to do. He got pushed up against the cage. Willie Cat would just let off some combinations, and it didn't go well for him. So I think he can do a similar thing here to Johnny Munoz. But if it does go to the ground, I mean, like you said, Munoz got a solid ground game. So maybe he could pull something off there. But Santos, if he does get cracked, he just falls to his back like Charles. Like, he's like just invites you to come in his card. So maybe he could give up a round or two if he doesn't get submitted down there, if he gets cracked. But Johnny Munoz is not a big, massive hitter. So, yeah, he's only lost by decision, Willie Cat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take him as well. And that's it for the card. I mean, we had, 14 fights, some bangers lined up, pay-per-view card. What do you got? You got any plans for this weekend? Where are you watching?
Sitting on the couch watching this thing from start to finish.
You're not going to be in Newark watching?
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish. Not this one though. We'll be at one soon. We'll get to one soon.
Definitely. It'll be a fun watch. It's always nice to, pay the $85 to watch the pay-per-views every time they're out there. So, yes, we don't illegally stream. Dana White, if you're watching this, we pay for them because we're die-hard fans.
That's right.
If you want the picks, you can wait till the end of the week. They'll be available for free this week only. So make sure you get in on them while it's free this week. But if you want to join the premium membership, you can we'll go in the description below to get the premium membership and join the family. We've been growing it, and a lot of people have been getting a lot of value out of that. So other than that, after the fights, we'll come out with a recap, and it'll be here on YouTube. But for any updates throughout the week, at the Double Leg on all the medias, at HeyJob Picks on the medias. For me, where can they find you?
TikTok at The Parlay, Instagram and Twitter, The Parlay_media, and YouTube, The Parlay MMA.
All right, let's run it up. Run up the like button, and appreciate everything. Till the next time, Double Leg signing.